Hello everyone, this is Evelyn speaking. Today our topic is users' disadvantages by the ambiguities in WhatsApp privacy policy, which is the paper I wrote. It is a forensic linguistics analysis. Without any further ado, let's just get started. We will begin with a brief and short introduction on our topic. Recently, social media has become a broad platform for humans to communicate, especially since the COVID-19 pandemic. One of them is WhatsApp. WhatsApp itself is used in 180 countries with more than 2 billion users. The issues that arise along with the increasing number of users are data processing and user privacy. WhatsApp addresses those concerns by establishing a privacy policy in which all the information regarding data processing activities, such as collecting, using, sharing, and retaining, is provided. The privacy policy is made in the form of a legal text that contains regulations and rules of WhatsApp services which have law power. Analyzing and interpreting legal text is a part of the forensic linguistic field, an applied discipline of linguistics engaged with legal contexts of professional and institutional interactions. Ideally, as a legal text, privacy policy should have clarity, certainty, precision, and completeness as its crucial characteristic. However, the complexity and vagueness of legal language style become the major problems, especially for people who are not professionals in their legal field. The synthetical construction of a sentence or the word choices could be the causes of those problems. Therefore, this research aims to discover the ambiguities in the WhatsApp privacy policy that leads to users' disadvantages by analyzing the linguistic features of the text. Now we move to the theory and methodology used in this research. According to Collins English Dictionary, ambiguity means the possibility of interpreting an expression in two or more distinct ways, vagueness or uncertainty of meaning. Ambiguity could arise when a statement is incomplete and missing relevant information, or when a word or phrase has more than one possible interpretation and the reader is uncertain about which interpretation the author intended. Linguists have identified various forms of ambiguity in the use of language and have classified textual ambiguity in various ways. Joel Reinberg, Jaspreet Bhatia, Travis de Brooks, and Thomas B. Norton worked together and resulted a taxonomy as follows. From a legal perspective, conditional terms are inherently vague because the performance of a stated action or activity will be dependent on a variable trigger. Similarly, generalizations are terms that are vaguely abstract information practices using contexts that are unclear, for example, typically or generally. From the linguistic perspective, modalities such as modal verbs, adverbs, and non-specific adjectives creates uncertainty with respect to actual action. This includes whether an action is possible, likely, permitted, or obligatory, among others. If the action is only permitted, it may never occur, whereas obligatory actions are expected to be occur in the future. For example, the difference between we may and we will. Similarly, numeric quantifiers that are non-specific creates ambiguity as the actual measure. Lastly, silence in a privacy policy can also lead to ambiguity. For example, if the policy is silent on the conditions of data sharings with third parties, then the policy fails to convey whether and under what condition data may be transferred to others. Hence, completeness in the privacy policy will have an impact for the users. This research is a descriptive qualitative research that was conducted by collecting, mapping, identifying, and analyzing the data of the research. The objectives of this paper are collecting and mapping the vague terms, identifying the ambiguity, and relating the ambiguity to the user's disadvantages. The object of this research is WhatsApp Privacy Policy, published by WhatsApp LLC on January 4, 2021. Next, we enter the discussion of this research. There are 76 vague terms are founded in the policy. The result is as follows. The first category is the conditional terms. The vague terms found in the WhatsApp privacy policy are as necessary and as appropriate. Here is the example from the actual text. We store information for as long as necessary for the purposes identified in this privacy policy, including to provide our service or for other legitimate purposes, such as complying with legal obligations, enforcing and preventing violations of our terms, or protecting and defending our rights, property, and users. One of the attributes of vagueness concerns the vague conditions and purposes under which information is used. In the statement, the WhatsApp policy links the information storing to a broad purpose, which is providing their services or other legitimate purposes. Those two purposes are conditioned under a general assumption about the necessary situations defining the purpose. Although the legitimate purposes were given some tangible examples, however, the part providing services are not described further. It leaves an assumption that the user's data can also be stored in the interest of the company. This obviously shows the user's disadvantage as their data is used for others' necessity. Next category, generalization, which refers to the terms that contain unclear context or condition. In the WhatsApp privacy policy, such terms are including generally and typically. The statement written in the policy is as follows. Instead, your messages are stored on your device and not typically stored on our servers. The term generalization that can lead to ambiguity in here is typically. Although typically means certain with respect to common cases, the assumption that still arises is how if the not common one happen, whether WhatsApp stored the messages or not. This means the certainty level of the statement is still inadequate to avoid ambiguity and alienate users from disadvantages. The ideal level of certainty will be achieved if the term typically is removed. Then, it shows a certain action of data storing done by the company. Continue to the next category, that is modality. Modality in here means an expression that shows uncertainty, neither a yes nor a no. The modalities found in the WhatsApp privacy policy occupies the largest amount of vague terms, which are including may, might, can, could, and possible. Here's the statement from the referred policy. We may use the information we receive from them, and they may use the information we share with them to help operate, provide, improve, understand, customize, support, and market our services and their offerings, including the Facebook company products. The models may, as in the example statement, expresses a probability of something to happen. The probability indicated by this word is categorized to be low. This means that the situation is still in the gray zone between yes or no. Thus, the model may in the statement creates an uncertain meaning, that is, whether or not Facebook companies receive and use their information. Finally, the last category, numeric quantifier, which refers to the vague quantifiers of action or information type. In the WhatsApp privacy policy, the numeric quantifiers terms that lead to ambiguity are anyone, certain, and some. The statement contained in the policy is as follows. In the event that we are involved in a merger, acquisition, restructuring, bankruptcy, or sale of all or some of our assets, we will share your information to the successor entities or new owners in connection with the transaction in accordance with applicable data protection laws. The quantifier sum in the statement shows uncertainty of the condition in which an action will be taken, in this case, data transaction. The statement was explaining about the data transaction that is possible to be happen in the future if the event mentioned above happened. Thus, the term sum contains uncertainty about how much assets or which assets that must be sold so that the data transaction is needed to be done. Although it is written that the transaction is done with data protection laws, the term applicable there again raises ambiguity which data protection laws is being used according to the value of applicable as the company intended. The users should have been had the information about their data protection and the transaction of the company as their services providers. If they do not have that, then it becomes the disadvantages for them, which is caused by ambiguities. Finally, we come to the conclusion section. Ambiguities regarding these practices undermines the purpose and value of a privacy policy for the users. From all the analysis, it can be concluded that ambiguities can lead to users' disadvantages. The first disadvantages is on the data collecting processes, which are the uncertainty of which type of information that are being collected, the obscureness of under what condition the data is being stored, and unspecified purposes of collecting the data. Next, disadvantages also found on data sharing processes that are including unclarity of which circumstances the data can be shared, and indefinite actors who can provide and share the data or information, such as other users, other companies, businesses, etc. Moreover, the data collected by the users is not being regulated by WhatsApp. However, if the data was provided to the WhatsApp, it is regulated. Lastly, it can lead to users' disadvantage when WhatsApp will do data transaction in the future under blurred terms and conditions. I think that's all for this video. Thank you for watching and see you!